My earliest memories of Camogie, I guess, are from going into Vincent. So Vincent's is my home club that I would play with, and the pitches in Vincent's are right behind my back wall at home. So I wanted to play soccer originally, and my mum was like, there's no way I'm driving you to a soccer club when there's a GAA pitch right beside you. So I went in there first, and I wanted to play football, but there was no girls' football team. So after a brief stint of playing football with the boys, I eventually was redirected over towards the Camogie. So I very quickly kind of fell in love with it and haven't looked back since.
And what did you love most about the sport?
I think it was the fact that so many of my friends were playing initially. So I had started kind of in our local primary school just before then, and a lot of the girls who I was in school with were also playing Camogie. And that was probably something that was consistent then the whole way through me playing Camogie was, you know, the friendships that I had from other aspects of my life were reinforced then a lot of the time with the girls that I was playing Camogie with.
And did you always dream of playing for your county?
It probably wasn't something that really crossed my mind very much when I was younger. You know, I was playing more so because I loved it, and like I said, because my friends were there. So probably more so as I got that bit older and started to see that some of the girls that I was playing with, or some of the girls who were older than me in the club, were playing inter-county, then I became more aware of it, I guess, at that stage, and it probably became an aspiration at that point.
And I suppose it takes, you know, so much sacrifice and commitment to play at that level. What drives you to kind of continue to play and make those sacrifices?
Yeah, I ask myself that sometimes as well. It is difficult sometimes to, you know, stay motivated. The friendships and what you get back out of being part of a team. Like, I've definitely got more from GAA and from Camogie than, you know, I've ever sacrificed or I've ever had to give for it. The fact that I get to go out and train, you know, 4 or 5 times a week with some of the best players across the country is a huge privilege, and it's something that, like, I'm very honoured to do.
And back in 2017, Dublin reached the semi-finals for the first time since 1990, and you picked up your first All-Star and Dublin's first since 1990 as well. How did that feel?
Yeah, it was a great experience. Even though the All-Stars are, you know, individual awards, obviously they're very much, you know, a recognition of how far the team has come. And like you said, it's no coincidence that the last time Dublin had an All-Star was the last time that we got to a semi-final. So while I was very privileged to be the person that got it, it was very much, for me, it was very much a recognition of how far the team had come.
You've had a few challenges to overcome yourself. You were involved in a quite serious accident as well. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
I came off my bike, unfortunately, 2019. Our club had just won a Leinster Championship. In trying to be sensible and going home instead of going into Coppers, I was cycling back and just took a bad turn on some wet leaves. Came off, it came straight down through my leg. So by the time I sat up, my leg was going that way, and then below my knee was going the other way. So I knew straight away that, fortunately, the All-Ireland semi-final that I was waiting to play with my club was probably out of reach, and that I was probably in a bit of trouble. So I got straight into hospital and got operated on and everything, you know, within 24 hours. So I have a fair bit of metal in the leg now at this stage to show for it, but managed to get back to playing with the club, and then back to playing with the county again after that. Don't get me wrong, I definitely had ups and downs throughout it. You don't feel on top of the world by any means the whole way through. I initially was kind of told, look, 12 months to get back running, and whatever, you'd be doing well. And I had a game, like I said, that All-Ireland semi-final with my club that I wanted to play, which was about 2 months later, I think, at that stage. And I think, to be honest, I thought I was going to be back for that game for the majority of the 2 months. Now, by the time the match came around, I was just about shuffling onto the pitch with water, and that was the only contribution I could make. But I was still part of the teams. I was still in the dressing room, and the girls were very supportive to me. And similarly, I had brilliant physios around me at the time. So that was probably what made it harder, and also what got me through it at the same time.
And I suppose, aside from sport, you're also an incredible artist as well. Can you talk to us a bit about that?
I don't know if I'd go as far as to say incredible, but yeah, art is something that I do as well. I kind of started doing art when I was younger, and I guess I kind of fell in love with the contrast between art and sport in a lot of ways. I love the fact that sport is a team sport, but also the fact that art is solitary, I quite like as well. And I guess it gives me something that's very different from on the pitch. It's a chance to kind of get lost in something and just to pass away a bit of time in a much more relaxed manner. So the two of them thankfully kind of complement each other quite well, because if you have a rest day or something like that, or you're trying to get your mind off a game for a few hours in the morning before you play, it's a nice way to be able to pass time.
And I suppose other kind of sports stars have spoken about struggling with confidence. Have you struggled with confidence?
Yeah, absolutely. Sport, like anything in life, is up and down, and you have your days when you feel on top of the world and able to do anything, and then you have some days when you look back and think, Jesus, was that a fluke that I got here at all? Am I able for this at all? You're going to have enough critics in sport. You don't need to be your own critic, and if you're not going to back yourself, you can't expect other people to. Everybody has their ups and downs, and absolutely, don't get me wrong, you have to be able to evaluate your own game and see what you can improve at and see what you can be better at. But you need to speak to yourself in a way that you would also speak to other people. If we can't be our own biggest fans, then we can't expect other people to be.
Recently, you've won the county final with your club, Vincent's. Congratulations, and you scored an incredible 12 points.
My club is, obviously where I started playing camogie. Club is always going to be the most important thing to me. I'm very, very fortunate to play with Vincent's, to play with an extremely talented bunch of players over there and a very dedicated group of coaches. And I've had great experiences the whole way up. Through Vincent's, we've been on our fair shares of wins and losses, so we've had a lot of ups and downs. But getting the opportunity to play with the girls that you grew up with, and that you're seeing day in and day out, and you've been playing with for years on end, is the most important thing.
And PwC are the title sponsors for the Camogie All-Stars this year, and they're committed to celebrating excellence. How do you kind of prepare yourself mentally and physically to perform at your best, and kind of like what you spoke about there of kind of come back every year and going giving it 100% again?
Yeah, I suppose a lot of it is, it's trial and error and finding a routine that works, and just experience of having done it for so long. I think every year I go back and play again, you learn something else that allows you to contribute towards your game, be that from a new member of management team that's in. This year we had a nutritionist come in and work full time with us, and a sports psychologist come in and work full time with us as well, and things like that definitely give you an edge in your game, and allow you to prepare a little bit better and to be a bit more in tune with yourself and what you need as a player and what sets you up best.
And reflecting on your career that you've had, what are kind of your biggest learnings so far?
You say that like I'm about to retire. Biggest learnings, I suppose, are just that it goes fast. Like I think I'm about 10 years into playing senior inter-county now at this stage, and I still feel like one of the young ones. They'd be looking at me now if they heard me say that. But you forget how fast it goes by, and ultimately we have to play because we enjoy it, and we have to play because we love it. If you're not enjoying it and you're not loving being involved, then you're doing something wrong. So I think biggest learnings are just to enjoy it as much as you can along the way.
From when you started playing camogie at such a young age as well, have you kind of seen things change?
Yeah, I have seen things change, definitely. There has been improvements. It's not all doom and gloom. One of the examples that I give sometimes is, like, I remember when I was younger, and you get kind of a questionnaire to fill in before a game if it's like an under 16 Dublin match or something, and they'd ask who's your role model in women's sport, and everybody would just write Sonia O'Sullivan because she was the only female athlete that people knew or that they were familiar with. Whereas now I think if you take kids programs at the same kind of age, you're seeing much more diversity, whether it's the likes of Katie Taylor, Rena Buckley, Kelly Harrington. There's players from GAA sports that are recognised by younger players across the country coming up, and multiple female athletes across many different sports that are becoming role models, not only for young girls but for young boys as well. And I think that's a really positive sign that we are making progress.
I suppose from a kind of camogie point of view as well, there's talk now, Mary McAleese has been appointed chair of the integration process. What are your kind of thoughts on the three organisations kind of coming together, and what can that mean?
Yeah, definitely an appointment that, personally, I'd really welcome. I think it's a really good appointment. I think the concept of integration is something that's crucial to the growth of our organisation going forward. I'd love to see, the three organisations sit down and talk really constructively and pragmatically about what needs to be done and what can be done, because ultimately I think, we're talking here in the broader context about the equality of women in sport, and until both LGFA teams and camogie teams are brought in under the same umbrella as the GAA with both of the men's codes, I think we're really going to struggle to achieve equality without it. So I hope it's something that we do start to see become a reality in the not too distant future.
And as a female athlete, playing at an elite level, what are kind of some of the challenges that you've experienced? Yeah,
I guess I was studying in TUD on scholarship in there, and there was a lot of male athletes on the same programme as me. TUD have a brilliant sports programme in there where everything is equal between men and women. But unfortunately, the equality is very much ended when we went outside of college sport. So if I look at some of the lads that I know in there, just in regards to, the reimbursement they get for expenses, be that for nutritional expenses, extra food that's needed, stuff like that, whether it's petrol travelling to or from games, whether it's gear, whether it's boots, we just need to see more, financial backing and more availability of pitches and more opportunity for girls in sport. And I think until, we see all organisations come in under the one umbrella, we're probably going to continue to struggle with that.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Anyway, thank you, Aisling. That was great. And thanks for taking your time.